City A, there was a guy sitting in a university dormitory. His name is XINW. He was playing an online game and something was clearly pissing him off. His butt was unable to protect the tower. He furiously shouted something to his teammates, but they clearly did not listen to him. In the end, the guy's team lost. Xing Wu sighed angrily. The guy furiously threw the mouse and left the dorm room. Xin Wu was going down the stairs when suddenly a girl ran into him and they fell down the stairs together. The guy fell right on the girl's chest. The girl's name is Sui Lin. Sui Ling was extremely scared. She asked Xin Wu to save her. There were tears in the girl's eyes. Someone called out to Xin Wu and told him to run quickly. It was Bai Defu who was running away from zombies. Xing Wu grabbed Sui Ling and began to run away from the dead. The guys stopped in some office to take a break. Xing Wu, breathing heavily, asked what was happening here now. Voices outside the door screamed, begged for help and asked to be saved. Xing Wu could not believe his eyes. He asked Bai Defu if all this was really happening in reality. The guy told our main character to look out the window. The dorm yard was really filled with zombies. People turned into zombies before our eyes in a matter of seconds. Xin Wu watched all this in horror. He asked how this could even happen. Xin Wu couldn't believe his eyes and asked if it was really a zombie or some kind of terrorist attack. Sui Lin replied that she doesn't know exactly what happened, but many people have already turned into zombies. Bai Defu took out his phone and decided to call his father. He was sure that his father would do something about this situation. The answering machine reported that the subscriber was not in the access area or was unavailable. Bai Defu was in a panic. Sui Ling suggested calling the police. Xin Wu said that he tried to call recently but couldn't get through. Apparently the situation is worse than they could have imagined. Bai Defu asked what they should do then because the zombies are about to steal. Xing Wu told Bai Defu to hold the door to prevent zombies from entering the classroom and ran towards the door. Sui Ling excitedly asked where to run because they were on the 4th floor. Xin Wu said that you can go down the drain pipe through the window and then jump onto the roof of the parking lot. Bai Defu rushed to the window. There was indeed a drain pipe through which he could climb down. Xing Wu shouted to the girl to come down quickly and not stand like a pillar, but she hesitated and was shy. The guy shouted that they could die if she didn't listen to him. The girl made a noise that she understood and began to get out. Bai Defu looked down and realized that although he could go down, he still had nowhere to go. Xing Wu could no longer hold the door. The guy let her go and rushed towards the window. Zombies immediately began to break into the room. The guy quickly jumped to the pipe. He was very scared by the zombies. He began to descend. The zombies did not have time to catch up with him. Sui Ling slowed down. She was afraid to go down. Xin Wu gave her some advice to get down. The wind blew, and Sui Ling was wearing a skirt. Bai Defu could see her underwear. The girl blushed and asked him not to look. He closed his eyes and said he wasn't looking. Finally they managed to get down. Defu asked if Sui Ling was okay. Xing Wu was indignant and reminded Defu that he rushed forward the fastest. Xin Wu raised his head and saw a terrible picture. Many people tried to get out of the dorm, but right in front of Xin Wu and the others, they were grabbed by zombies and eaten. Xin Wu couldn't believe his eyes. A guy approached Xing Wu, introduced himself and said his name was Yao Li. Xing Wu said that he knew him and asked if Yao Li knew what was happening here. The guy replied that he also had no idea what happened here. Xin Wu asked if everything was okay with the guys. Everyone confirmed that he was fine, but one guy replied that he was only slightly scratched. Someone was worried that something needed to be done, because if they stayed on the roof, sooner or later they would all be devoured. Xin Wu replied that he had an idea. Xin Wu suggested going towards the house with a fence. Most likely there are no zombies there. Maybe they can find help there. Someone asked downstairs because there are still zombies. How are they going to go? Xin Wu pointed to the side and said that he remembers that there is a ladder somewhere there. They can move through it. The guy asked everyone to be careful and everything would be fine. The guys put a ladder between the roofs. Someone commented that it doesn't look very sturdy, so you have to go one person at a time. Bai Defu volunteered to go up the stairs first. Xin Wu replied that he had to let his girlfriend out. When they ran away from the hostel, he also abandoned her. Defoe replied that he was going first to test the strength of the ladder, and so they began to move one person at a time. When it was Yao Li's turn, he turned around and suddenly his acquaintance turned into a zombie. Previously, he said that he received a small scratch. Yao Li panicked. he started trying to get up the stairs as quickly as possible. He walked only a little way and the zombie grabbed his leg. In a panic, Yao Li started screaming for him to let him go. Suddenly, someone kicked the zombie. It was Xian Wu. He wondered why he turned into a zombie. Is this really some kind of virus? Turning around, Xian Wu noticed that a large number of zombies were coming straight towards them. All the zombies looked incredibly scary. One of them looked stronger and seemed to be leading the rest of the crowd. The guys started calling Xian Wu to the other side. Xian Wu walked up the stairs. When he got to the other side, he kicked the ladder so that no one else could get through. Xian Wu noticed that, most likely, the guy got infected through the wound. He suggested forgetting about him and better get out of there. They ran towards the exit to the street. The guys ran out into the street and stopped. Someone asked what they should do now. Xin Wu said that first we need to find a safe place, and then go to the police station. As it turned out, there were zombies on that street too. They started walking towards the guys. Xian Wu pointed at the bus and shouted, "Look." The guys started running towards the bus and shouting for the driver to stop it. They believed that if they ran to the bus and got on it, they would be safe. Sui Ling fell. Her leg seemed to hurt. Xin Wu turned and asked what happened to her. The guy grabbed Yao Li's hand and asked him to help carry Sui Ling to the bus. Yao Li waved him off and told him to go away. The guy continued and said that he didn't care whether she died or not. He doesn't want to die here. Therefore, if Xing Wu wants to help Sui Ling, then it is only his problem. The guys stood in front of the bus and demanded that the driver open the door and save them. By default, Yao Li and the rest of the guys who managed to reach the bus began to quickly enter it. Yao Li demanded that the driver close the door immediately. One guy asked if it was necessary to save Xing Wu from Sui Ling. Yao Li hit him and told him to shut up. Yao Li said that this is Xing Wu's problem and he doesn't want to die because of these two. The passengers on the bus supported Yao Li and said that the most important thing was to survive himself, but they didn't care about the others. The guy asked how he could say that, since Xin Wu had recently saved them. Yao Li replied that Xing Wu himself went to save him, and no one asked him. If the guy doesn't like it, then he can get off the bus and die along with Xin Wu. Xing Wu was helping Sui Ling at this time. They stood up together and noticed how the bus began to leave. Xing Wu's eyes widened. He couldn't believe that the guys abandoned him and Sui Ling. Bai Defu looked at Sui Ling and Xing Wu from the bus. The guy and girl were surrounded by zombies. They were in a panic and didn't know what to do. Xin Wu panicked and said that zombies were surrounding them. Sui Ling replied that it would be better for him to leave her here. One of the zombies headed straight for Xing Wu and Sui Ling. The guy thought about death. Suddenly the car hit a zombie who was walking towards them. The car stopped. The girl looked out of the window and asked what they were worth. Let them get into the car quickly. Xing Wu asked again, and then understood everything and quickly ran to the car. First he sat the girl down and then sat down himself. Finally, closing the car door, he said that they were saved. The blonde girl in the car turned around and told Xin Wu to better protect his girlfriend. Xing Wu and Sui Ling were very embarrassed. They weren't a couple. The guy who was driving turned around and asked if everything was okay, if they were hurt. The girl clarified that if a person is bitten by a zombie, then after some time he also becomes the same. Sui Ling replied that they were fine and thanked them for saving them. Xin Wu also thanked them. The blonde girl said that her name was Zi Xiang, and the guy driving was Pan Yu, and she asked Xing Wu and Sui Ling, "Is this really a zombie apocalypse?" Xin Wu replied that he didn't want to believe it. Sui Ling said that one guy only had a scratch on his arm and then he turned into a zombie. Xin Wu assumed that he was thinking about how to escape, so he did not attach importance to this scratch. Sui Ling asked why they call them zombies. She continued by saying that zombies sounded too scary. Sui Ling suggested calling them the Walking Dead because it sounds more scientific. Pan Yu said that now is not the time for such talk, and they urgently need to find a safe place. Sui Ling suggested going to the police station. Pan Yu agreed, and they headed there. On the way, they watched as some zombies broke straight into cars where there were people. There were still a couple of survivors, but they were becoming fewer and fewer. Xin Wu looked out the window in horror and asked himself, "Is this really the end of the world? Is this the world he knows?" Sui Ling reminded them to turn at the intersection, but Pan Yu suddenly froze in place and slowed down. There were an insanely large number of zombies at the intersection. They couldn't go further. zombies simply blocked the road. Ji Xiang shouted for Pan Yu to quickly turn back. He listened to the girl. Sui Ling and Xing Wu froze in horror. Suddenly, another car rushed towards them from the intersection. There were zombies in the car that was driving straight towards them. The car with the zombies crashed straight into the car where our heroes were. Sui Ling fell on Xing Wu. She apologized. The guy turned all red. Pan Yu shouted for them to stop feeling sorry for each other and get out of the car. Our heroes began to get out of the car. Xing Wu said that he felt sorry for Pan Yu's car. The guy replied that this was not his car, so there was nothing to regret. Our four main characters were running away. Xin Wu asked if this is really normal, since this is the beginning of the collapse of social values. Ji Xiang asked in response if he really wanted to discuss this with the zombies. Pan Yu replied that it was better to stop talking and run faster. The guys stopped. Xin Wu looked around. He said zombies blocked the road. Pan Yu replied that he first needed to find a place to hide. There was a hotel next to them. Xin Wu offered to stay there. Our heroes ran into the hotel. There were still a couple of people inside, but they were already attacked by zombies. The zombies were already breaking in, so Xia Xing suggested going up to the floor. The four heroes ran into the elevator. Pan Yu pressed the fourth floor. Xian Wu asked what they should do now. Sui Ling was worried about why they were going to the fourth floor. Xin Wu asked if that was all she cared about. The guys got out of the elevator. The fourth floor was quite quiet and there were no zombies. Pan Yu said that they didn't have an electronic card, so they wouldn't be able to enter the room. Ji Xiang guessed that there must be people here. The guys walked along the corridor and knocked on every room, desperately trying to reach someone. Sui Ling knocked on a door. Someone answered her behind the door and asked who was making noise there. The man opened the door and he was very surprised, as was Sui Ling. Xin Wu was glad that someone finally opened the door and quickly ran into the room. As it turned out, the man was Sui Ling's father. She asked what he was doing here. The girl asked why her father was here alone and where her mother was. My father replied that my mother had gone to Paris and asked if he hadn't said this before. A girl came out of the shower and asked Sulin's father why it was so noisy. The girl saw a huge number of people and screamed. She screamed that she had no money, and she didn't do anything. Sui Ling indignantly asked who this woman was. The pink-haired girl was surprised that he had a daughter. Ji Xiang began to think about the information she had just received and said so much that she herself became confused. Pan Yu said that she talks too much. Sui Lin's father's mistress, and Sui Lin herself, began to panic and a showdown began. Sui Lin's dad asked him to calm down and tell him what was going on here. Xin Wu pointed to the window and said to look there. Sui Ling's father and his mistress looked questioningly at Xing Wu. They looked out the window and noticed that the street was full of zombies who were killing people, turning them into people just like them. They were simply in great shock and could not understand what was happening. Pan Yu walked to the TV and turned it on, hoping that the news might explain something. It was reported on TV that a huge group of people were biting citizens in many cities and regions. They also report that this is some kind of virus, and if someone bites someone, they will also become the same zombie. However, the news has not been officially confirmed. The presenter on TV said that he was on Central Avenue, which connects districts 3 and 4. He said that a large number of infected people were heading towards them from the 3rd district. The presenter showed the area that the police had cordoned off, and also indicated to the camera to direct it and show what was happening there. A huge number of zombies rushed straight towards the police, who were unable to contain them, and the situation got out of control. The broadcast was interrupted. Xing Wu and Pan Yu stood there in a daze. Pan Yu realized that the host had named Central Avenue, and the guy remembered that it was close to the place where they were passing. Pan Yu tried to change the channel, hoping that there would be other news. Xin Wu asked to turn off the TV. He said that everything happened so suddenly that everyone needs to calm down first. Xin Wu suggested using the phone to find out all the latest news. He argued that information on the internet is more accurate. Ji Xiang recalled that about half an hour ago she saw a beauty with long hair. She had beautiful skin, and seeing her, she wanted to talk to her. And then suddenly 2 zombies grabbed her and bit her. They continued to bite until she was covered in blood. Ji Xiang asked if her lover wanted the same thing to happen to her. Xia Xing continued and said that there are a lot of zombies downstairs, so if she makes too much noise, they will all come and kill them, so she should be quieter. Xian Wu was surprised by Ji Xiang's skills. In a panic, Sui Ling's father began to call the police, but Xin Wu warned that it was useless. Suddenly there was a very loud sound. Sui Lin's dad asked if this was shooting. Xin Wu replied that it seems the government sent the military to get rid of the zombies and it seems the situation is worse than they could imagine. Ji Xiang asked what they should do now. Xin Wu replied that now it's better for them not to go outside, that for now it's safer in the hotel. Pan Yu agreed with Xin Wu and said that it would be safest to go out tomorrow morning. Xin Wu said that it would be great if the army actually dealt with the zombies, but they can't rely entirely on the army. Ji Xiang took out a couple of packs of instant noodles and said that they also had cola mineral water and a couple more drinks. Xing Wu suggested saving drinking water. Ji Xiang said that there is probably a kettle in the hotel. Xin Wu asked if she had been to such places before. The girl said that naturally, they are always here, and she asked if he had never been to such hotels. The guy was very embarrassed and blushed. Ji Xiang made fun of him a little about this. Pan Yu asked her not to do this again, because Xing Wu was putting pressure on a sore spot. The father asked if Sui Ling was okay. The girl turned away from him indignantly and asked him not to touch her. Sui Ling went to the restroom. Her father tried to talk to her somehow, but she just slammed the door. His lover commented and said that his daughter looked just like her father, an exact copy. Xing Wu turned to his father's mistress Sui Ling and asked how long she planned to stay in the towel. The girl started knocking on the restroom and demanding that Sui Ling give her her clothes and phone. At this time, the girl in the restroom was crying a lot because her father had done something. Meanwhile, the guys who got on the bus and didn't wait for Xing Wu and Sui Ling were running away from the zombies because there was an infected guy inside. The army heard a shot and asked if it was their imagination. One of them suggested that it seems the government sent the army to finish off the zombies. Bai De Fu stopped and began to breathe heavily. He was very tired and could no longer run. One of the guys reminded us that it would soon get dark and it would be even more dangerous. Yao Li suggested finding a safe place first. He began to think logically, because if troops are now being sent to the southeast to kill all the zombies, then they have a way out, go in the other direction, to the southwest. At the same time, Xing Wu also thought logically and began to think, if the windows of this room face south, then the shooting started from the southeast, their school is also in that direction, this means that the possibility of meeting zombies in the east is very high. Xin Wu warned that this was just his guess, but most likely there are fewer zombies in the southwest, so it's worth going there tomorrow. The next day, Xing Wu noticed that Sui Ling was very depressed and tried to somehow support her. But at this moment, Xing Wu called out to Pan Yu. He asked Xin Wu to go to the window and look at the street. Xin Wu walked over and looked out the window. The guy stood there and didn't understand what was happening at all. There was fog outside, it was some kind of red and filled the whole city. Everyone was surprised how quiet it was outside. Xin Wu noted that this silence is even more eerie than the zombies themselves. Pan Yu said that they should leave the hotel and go to a safer place. Xin Wu opened the door of the room and looked out. He said that it seemed like there was no one in the corridor. We need to get out of there quickly. Xin Wu suggested using the stairs because it would be safer, otherwise, if you use the elevator, zombies may simply attack when the doors open. The heroes began to descend. Ji Xiang asked Sui Ling's dad if he remembered where he parked the car. Sui Ling's father replied that he parked next to the elevator in the parking lot. Most likely, it is not far from the stairs. Xin Wu hoped there were no zombies in the parking lot. Our heroes went down to the parking lot. Xin Wu asked everyone to be quiet. It seems there are still a few zombies left there. Ji Xiang asked again where his car was. Sui Ling's father pointed to the black car near the wall. Ji Xiang commented that he has a nice car, why does he need a mistress and so on. The girl with pink hair was a little indignant. Xin Wu shushed the girl and asked her to be quiet so as not to attract the attention of the zombies. Pan Yu suggested distracting the zombies first and then getting to the car. Xing Wu volunteered to create a diversion. Pan Yu asked to lend him the car keys. Sui Ling's father looked at him a little incredulously. Xing Wu began to assure Sui Ling's father that Pan Yu would definitely not leave and would save them, you can trust him. Still a little incredulous, Sui Ling's father agreed to hand over the car keys. Xin Wu walked out into the middle of the parking lot and started talking loudly to attract the zombies' attention. Immediately a huge number of zombies headed towards him. Xin Wu didn't expect to attract their attention so quickly. The pink-haired girl began to suspect Pan Yu and think that he would leave without them and leave them to be eaten by zombies. Ji Xiang asked if she was a Scorpio. Pan Yu made his way to the car. The guy quickly got into the car and started driving away. The pink-haired girl screamed throughout the parking lot that he would leave now and leave them. Ji Xiang indignantly asked her not to shout. The girl claimed that Pan Yu would kill them all now. Sui Ling told everyone to remain calm. Pan Yu will arrive now. Her father noticed a zombie approaching Sui Ling from behind. Her father pushed the zombie aside to save his daughter and shouted at her to be careful. The next second, this zombie fell right under the wheels of the car driven by Pan Yu. Pan Yu shouted, "What are they waiting for? Let them quickly get into the car." There was a roar and Pan Yu's eyes widened. Someone jumped onto the roof of the car. Sui Ling and her father were speechless. It was a huge pumped-up zombie. He looked very dangerous. The zombie roared and jumped off the roof of the car in 1 second. This zombie grabbed Sui Ling's father and pinned him to the floor. He held him by the head. Her father only managed to shout for her to run away. The zombie clenched his hand into a fist and simply crushed Sui Ling's father's head. Sui Ling looked at this in horror. The zombie bit part of Sui Ling's dead father's neck. Then he stood up and walked towards her. Suddenly, Xing Wu appeared. He was armed with an axe. The guy attacked the zombies. He attacked the zombie from above and struck the back of the neck. Xing Wu was courageous and decisive. 2 minutes earlier, Xin Wu was running away from a crowd of zombies he was distracting. There were more and more zombies and Xin Wu already regretted that he had volunteered for this adventure. Xing Wu decided to take a shortcut and slip between the cars that were standing very close to each other. The guy did it easily, but the zombies couldn't. The guy looked around, and something caught his attention. This was the most powerful zombie among all the others. Xin Wu looked at him and wondered what was wrong with him. This zombie jumped onto the car where Pan Yu was in one movement. Xin Wu was walking towards the guys and noticed the firefighters who had been bitten on the throat. It seems it was the same zombie. Next to one of them lay an axe. Xin Wu grabbed an axe and ran straight towards that zombie. The zombie turned around when he saw the boy. He gave him an angry look. Xin Wu immediately regretted that he decided to go against him. The zombie turned around completely and was already walking towards Xin Wu. The guy began to apologize and say that he was wrong. The zombie grabbed the axe from Xin Wu and threw it away. The zombie aimed a blow directly at Xin Wu, but he managed to dodge. The guy shouted at Sui Ling to quickly leave and not just stand still. Ji Xiang supported Xing Wu's statement. Ji Xiang told Sui Ling that her father had died and that she should pull herself together quickly. Pan Yu shouted to be dragged into the car by force and to stop fussing around. Ji Xiang shouted that this was not a game and that she should quickly get into the car, because there was no time to hesitate. The giant zombie was heading straight towards Xing Wu. The rest of the zombie crowd was also heading straight towards him. But the giant zombie hit one zombie from the crowd, which made Xin Wu very surprised. Xin Wu asked if they weren't together. The giant zombie roared. He started screaming very loudly. The giant zombie attacked Xin Wu and knocked him down, still screaming. Xing Wu was very scared. He even thought about death for a second. The zombie continued to scream loudly. The guy also screamed a little more and he would crush Xin Wu. Xing Wu could barely restrain him. Ji Xiang finally sat Sui Ling down, and she looked at Xing Wu asking Pan Yu what to do with him. The pink-haired girl shouted at Pan Yu to get going. Ji Xiang stopped her and said that they couldn't go without Xing Wu. Pan Yu was nervous and shouted that it didn't matter anymore. If they don't get out now, they'll all die. Ji Xiang looked worriedly at Xing Wu, who was about to die. But suddenly she noticed something strange on the back of this zombie and paid attention to it. She decided that this might be the zombie's weak spot, so she looked at the axe and decided to give it a try. Pan Yu tried to convince her and asked her to come back. The girl ignored Pan Yu and grabbed an axe and walked towards the giant zombie. She hit right on the ledge, which she considered a weak spot. The zombie spat out some strange green liquid directly at Xing Wu. It fell right on the guy, and some kind of chip fell out of this place. They looked at it and did not understand what it was all about. Xing Wu quickly began to wipe himself off this green vile liquid. Ji Xiang told him to quickly get into the car. The guy was worried that he could get infected. Ji Xiang hurried him to get into the car. Xin Wu began to cautiously enter the car and asked what would happen if he really became a zombie. Ji Xiang replied that she would kill him if necessary. After 20 minutes they arrived at some place where there was no one below, people not zombies. Peng Yu said that they are now in the outer ring, and that there is not a soul here. Ji Xiang asked what they should do now. Pan Yu replied that he couldn't find anything because his phone died. Xin Wu replied that his phone died too, therefore, it would be good to find a charger and check evacuation information on the internet. The hairless girl was trying to get through to someone all this time. Ji Xiang pointed at her and said that it seemed like her phone was still working. All this time the girl tried to call her mother, but she did not answer the phone. Ji Xiang turned to the girl and asked for her phone number. Xin Wu explained that they needed to figure out which direction was best to go. The girl was indignant when Ji Xiang addressed her as San San, still not knowing her name, so she said that her name was Yao Yao, and now from now on she should be called Miss Yao. The girl said that her phone would soon run out of charge, so she should call her mother. Suddenly, Siasen pointed her finger to the side and shouted, "Look." There was a silhouette in the distance. Xin Wu thought about it. Who is this? The silhouette came closer and closer. It turned out that this was another zombie. Pan Yu tried to calm them down, saying that there was only one zombie. Xin Wu noticed that some zombies are very fast, and some are very slow, and this one also has a limp. Ji Xiang shouted for Xing Wu to get rid of this zombie. The guy was a little confused. Sui Ling was sitting in the car at this time. Xin Wu turned to her and asked if this was considered murder, and the girl asked him if he was considered a person. Then she wondered to herself, what if he wasn't a zombie? And then I looked carefully and asked myself, zombie? Ji Xiang asked where all the courage Xing Wu had before had gone, but suddenly someone screamed. Pan Yu took the axe and resolutely said that he would take care of it. It was just a zombie. Pan Yu boldly moved towards the zombies. Pan Yu said he could cut off the head just like in the movies, but suddenly someone snatched the axe from his hands. It was Sui Ling. She took the axe from Pan Yu and attacked the zombies herself. Everyone was very surprised. Sui Ling rushed forward and cut off the zombie's hand with an axe. She started blaming him for something. Now the zombie was hit by a blow. It was Pan Yu's hand. The girl turned around. She was furious. Not all zombies. She again removed the zombie with an axe and said that it was all the zombies' fault for the fact that her father died for her. She continued to be a zombie with an axe, and with every blow she said that it was their fault, the fault of the zombies in everything. Xin Wu approached the girl and asked her to stop. The girl was still furious, so she said to let her go. Ji Xiang shouted that all this was enough, otherwise they would attract even more zombies. She approached Sui Ling and seriously said that she was hiding on them because her father was dead. Ji Xiang explained that there was no time to watch Sui Ling freak out. If her life was saved, then she should appreciate it. The girl grinned and asked that if they once became saviors, they could give orders. She furiously shouted that they really thought they cared about her. She indignantly asked who they thought they were. There was a sound of impact. Pan Yu slapped Sui Ling. Sui Ling was surprised. Pan Yu sternly replied that apparently saving her was a waste of time. Pan Yu continued and said that he didn't expect any gratitude from her or anything else. She would just be lucky if she survived another day. Pan Yu emphasized that if she cares about her life, then she shouldn't say anything. Pan Yu then told Xing Wu that he realized that he was on the right path. But he said that for now they are still going blind, and he asked if Xing Wu had any ideas. The two of them headed off in search of shelter or at least food. Pan Yu told Xing Wu to be careful. There could still be people from the evacuation and zombies left here. Xin Wu noted that the worst thing is the fog. Because of it the visual range is very limited. Xing Wu turned to Pan Yu and said that it seems that it was not worth treating Sui Ling so cruelly. She had just lost her father after all. Pan Yu explained that women in this state are useless, and pain can bring them to their senses. He said that at the moment moral values do not matter. Pan Yu turned to Xing Wu and said that he and Sui Ling were lucky. He explained that he was not a good person. It just so happened that he had an empty seat in the car. Xing Wu himself saw how many people along the way needed help, but they did not come out to help. Xing Wu swallowed nervously, realizing how small the chance of surviving yesterday was. Pan Yu reminded that at the moment we need to focus on solving current problems, namely, find food, a charger and a mobile phone. He cut it short and said that in general we need to find ways to survive. Xin Wu noticed a supermarket and pointed to it, offering to take some groceries. Pan Yu agreed. Xing Wu looked at the supermarket in confusion and said that he had no money with him. Pan Yu said that it doesn't matter now, you can just pick up the food. Xin Wu asked, is this right? He said if everything comes back, the seller will find it all out. Xin Wu was still worried whether they would be considered thieves in this case. A zombie jumped out of the window. Xing Wu was very scared, he jumped back. Xing Wu told Pan Yu that it seems there are still zombies inside. Pan Yu suggested that there might even be several of them inside. First you need to kill them before entering the store. Pan Yu looked at the zombie and told him to follow him to the door. The zombie began to follow him. The guy commented that he was even more obedient than his dog. Pan Yu noticed that all this time only girls were killing zombies and they didn't kill a single one. Xin Wu chuckled. With one easy movement, the guy crippled the zombie with an axe. The zombie fell. Now Pan Yu said that he needed to quickly take everything he needed so as not to make the girls wait. They entered the store. Pan Yu advised Xing Wu to check the counter for a charger or phone. Pan Yu also told Xing Wu to take bread if he is hungry and also noticed that there is good milk here, it quenches thirst and can come in handy. Xin Wu said that he found a charger only for Apple phones, it doesn't fit Xing Wu's phone. Pan Yu said that Yao Yao's mobile is like an iPhone. The guy offered to find the zombie's body, perhaps if he was the seller then his phone was still with him. Xin Wu turned out to say that he already became a zombie. Pan Yu asked in surprise if Xing Wu was afraid, because how brave he was in front of Sui Ling before. Pan Yu said indignantly that he didn't understand Xing Wu at all, he was so mature but such a naive idiot. Pan Yu began to say that now everything depends on their survival and if Xing Wu does not want Sui Ling to turn into a zombie, then he needs to think about her safety. Suddenly, Xing Wu came rushing into Pan Yu and told him to be quiet. The guy was at a loss. In a whisper, Xin Wu told him to look out the window and pointed with his finger. There was a zombie there. Pan Yu asked where he came from. As it turned out, there was not just one zombie, but a whole crowd. Our heroes are trapped. They were confused and didn't know how to get out. The zombies kept walking and there were more and more of them. They just sat in silence for a while. Pan Yu said that 10 minutes had already passed and asked Xing Wu to check if the zombies had left yet. Pan Yu asked why there were so many zombies here. Xin Wu replied that he didn't know at all. Perhaps when the area was evacuated, many people turned into zombies. But perhaps they came from somewhere else, but the problem is that they go to where the girls are now. Pan Yu pointed to the service exit door and asked what about it. Xin Wu replied that he would not recommend doing this, because there might also be zombies there. Then Pan Yu suggested just running out. Xin Wu warned that it was too dangerous. Pan Yu reminded that girls are also in danger now. And he rushed out of the store. Xin Wu didn't expect this and indignantly asked what he should do with the things they collected from the store. Xing Wu indignantly told Pan Yu not to act so recklessly, and Pan Yu at this time was indignant that because of the zombies the road was now blocked. Xin Wu suggested taking a detour. Pan Yu replied that it was too long, but they wouldn't be able to get through the crowd of zombies either. One of the zombies turned, and everyone else followed him. It seems they have been noticed. The guys ran away as quickly as possible. Sin Ul ran with the packages. Pan Yu said that he would clear the way for them. Pan Yu was attacked by a zombie girl. The guy apologized and hit her with an axe. Pan Yu asked if it would be possible to get out of here at all. Xin Wu noticed that the zombies were still following them. He also noticed that the car's windows were broken and asked if there had been a robbery. Looks like yesterday was a mess too. One zombie looked out the window and fell out. He then headed straight for Xin Wu. The guy got scared and hit this zombie with the bags he had in his hands. All the food items that Xing Wu had collected were scattered. The guy fell. He called Pan Yu for help. The zombie was walking straight towards him. Xin Wu found a fragment on the ground and stuck it right into the zombie's neck. Xin Wu began to breathe heavily. He still held the shard in his hand. Blood dripped from his hand. Xing Wu continued to breathe heavily. He couldn't believe what just happened. Pan Yu shouted for Xing Wu to return. The guy felt that his hand hurt and threw the fragment to the ground, and he said that he seemed to have cut himself. Pan Yu said that it was worth closing the gate, otherwise the zombies would not leave behind. Xing Wu asked to wait while Xing Wu collected food. Xing Wu packed his groceries and left the gate. Pan Yu asked if he was okay. The doors to the gate slammed shut and Pan Yu closed it. The guys managed to close the gate and the zombies could not get through them. Xing Wu asked if they could tear down this iron gate. Pan Yu hoped that they couldn't. But still, Xin Wu thought that this was a good way to delay them. He said he didn't think there were zombies in the area, but it looks like he was wrong. Pen Yu guessed that they came at night, but in any case, they should hurry up and find Sui Ling and the others. Zombies continued to roam the area. There were a huge number of them. The guys hid behind the bushes. Pen Yu replied that the zombies should have left by now. Xin Wu said that even though these zombies don't eat people, if they catch them, the guys have little chance of surviving. Xing Wu thought about Sui Ling and worried, hoping that she was okay. Pen Yu offered to have a snack. Xin Wu replied that he was not hungry. He also said that he managed to put the charger in his pocket. Xing Wu took out the contents of the packages. There was milk and yogurts. He was a little disappointed. Pan Yu said that milk was a great thirst quencher, and it was the only product that had high nutritional value and was also good for the skin, but Xing Wu looked at the expiration date and noticed that it was expiring today. Pan Yu said that this is real homemade milk and nothing will happen to it in a couple of days. Xing Wu was a little indignant. Pan Yu said that there is no need to worry about such trifles now, but the most important thing is to find the girls. The more these zombies stretch along the road, the more dangerous they become. Pan Yu said that the girls are in the same direction where the zombies are going, so we need to find them quickly. Xing Wu noticed that when they are calm, they are quite slow, so they can overtake them, and these bushes can hide them and they can sneak in faster. Pan Yu suggested that Xing Wu take the package. The guy said that only his right hand was damaged, and in his left hand he could easily carry things. He looked at the hand and said that the bleeding had stopped and the hand no longer hurt, and then he was very surprised. Xing Wu looked at his hand. There were only blood stains, but no cuts or wounds. The guy was very surprised and panicked a little. Pan Yu said that the guy should eat something then. The next snack break won't be for long, but that's not what Xing Wu cared about at all. He stopped and thought for a moment. Did he see clearly or not? He looked at his hand again. I thought, the wound on my hand has healed. How could this even happen? He replayed in his head the memory of when he took and stabbed a zombie. His hand, she was hurting from the cut. He was sure he didn't imagine it. Pan Yu turned around and realized that Xing Wu was falling behind. He asked her to be faster. Xin Wu said he was on his way. Pan Yu asked him to be quiet and duck down so that the zombies would not notice them. They need to find a good car. Xin Wu thought that now they were definitely hijackers and had broken a lot of laws. Zombies were breaking into some building. The door of this building was closed with a mop. The zombies couldn't get through. There were girls inside. Yao Yao asked why they were so calm. Weren't they scared at all? They almost died. She squatted down and began to tremble. The girl said that she was incredibly scared and did not want to die. Ji Xiang asked her to pull herself together if she wanted to live. Sui Ling pointed her finger somewhere and asked Ji Xiang to look there. There were a couple of zombies there. Ji Xiang said that she would deal with them so that they would not worry. She quickly hit the zombie with the mop. Then another blow was heard. The zombie did not react to this. Ji Xiang realized that they did not feel pain. At that moment, a fire extinguisher flew at the zombie. He was thrown by Sui Ling. Ji Xiang commented that it was amazing. Sui Ling noticed that the second one was still lying on the ground. Ji Xiang decided that when he fell, he must have broken his head. Ji Xiang noticed that apparently their head is really a weak point. Sui Ling said that this is quite logical, because the brain is responsible for all the functions of the body. Ji Xing joked a little with Sui Ling and said that she had finally calmed down. Does she want to beat up some zombies like that time again? Yao Yao excitedly asked what they should do now. Ji Xiang replied that first we need to ensure the security of this territory. Ji Xiang said that this is a community center. Sui Ling noticed that many doors were unlocked and opened in both directions. You can seal them with something. She asked the girls to make sure the zombies didn't surround them from behind. There are a lot of open areas here. They must find as many of the necessary resources as possible. Ji Xiang said that she underestimated Sui Ling. She thought that Sui Ling only knew how to do nothing, but it turns out she can also think critically. Ji Xiang suggested searching the place for phones or internet access. Su Lin also asked about food. Yao Yao supported and said that she was very hungry. Ji Xiang was worried about the availability of weapons for self-defense, and Sui Ling at this time was worried about the guys, whether Xian Wu and Pan Yu would be able to find them. Ji Xiang turned to Sui Ling and looked sad. Sui Ling replied that Xing Wu might be looking for them, and I worried whether he was still alive. Ji Xiang said that their situation was most likely much better, but the girls must continue to try to survive, only in this case will they have a chance to meet them again. But then she asked since when did she worry about Xing Wu. Sui Ling became nervous. Sui Ling began to say that she did not care about Xing Wu, and they left on their own at their own peril and risk, but Ji Xiang said that, frankly speaking, Sui Ling likes him, but she doesn't want to admit it. Ji Xiang moved on and said that Xing Wu was desperately protecting her, therefore, Sui Ling should take care of the guy. Memories flashed through her mind. She remembered the first meeting and how Xin Wu saved her and protected her. If it weren't for him, she would have been dead a long time ago. She thought that she didn't even help him in return and didn't thank the guy. The girl thought that she was a terrible person. At this time, Ji Xiang found a map of the center and called the girls. She began to look at the map and said that she was now in the middle of the corridor, and they needed to find access to the internet. Therefore, they should go to the administrator's office. Most likely there is a computer there, but Sui Ling suggested first finding a weapon for self-defense. The community center was full of pool cues. Perhaps this could work for weapons. Ji Xiang gave all the cues to Yao Yao. She said that with the help of them they would close the doors of the first floor and be sure that zombies could not enter here. Yao Yao suggested not going there. Sui Ling said that they have no choice, otherwise they will die because they need to know all the news. Ji Xiang said that if the zombies come, it will be difficult for them to break through, but the key would be more reliable, and Sui Ling suggested looking for a key or something like that in the duty officer's office. Ji Xiang agreed, so the girls headed to the second floor. Ji Xiang looked out to see if there were zombies there. Sui Ling asked her about this. Ji Xiang replied that it was too narrow and impossible to see. Yao Yao still suggested returning and not going there. Ji Xiang said that she could only see by looking out, so I tried to quietly look out and see if there were zombies there. There really were zombies there. Sui Ling asked how many there were. Ji Xiang replied that there were only 2 of them, but perhaps there were others. Ji Xiang replied that if there are only 2 of them, then they can easily cope with them, but if there are others around the corner, it will not be easy for them. Sui Ling looked at the urn and began to think of something. She reached into the trash can and started looking for something in it. The girl took out an iron can of Coca-Cola. Ji Xiang asked how she could help. Sui Ling threw the Coca-Cola can. The zombies quickly took notice. The sound attracted them. Now they have gathered in a heap. There are already 4 of them there. But suddenly another zombie came out of nowhere, but from the other side. The girls were in danger, because this zombie was closest to them. Sui Ling began to guess that this zombie came out of the toilet, because there was a toilet to their left, and they couldn't check if there were zombies inside. This zombie heard the sound and immediately ran out of the toilet. He attacked the girls. Sui Ling pierced his eye with a cue. The zombie fell, but the sound attracted the other zombies. They turned and began to growl towards the girls. Sui Ling asked what they should do now. Ji Xiang said that they need to defeat them. Sui Ling wasn't sure they could defeat 4 zombies. Ji Xiang attacked one zombie and hit him on the head. At this time, Su Lin also hit one of the zombies in the neck. Ji Xiang advised hitting the head. Hitting the body is useless. Sui Ling replied that she knew. Ji Xiang asked her to be careful and keep a safe distance. It is better to aim for the head and deal fatal blows immediately. At this time, Yao Yao was simply holding billiard cues in her hands. One of the zombies began to approach her. She screamed at him not to come near her and dropped all the cues. Sui Ling shouted for Yao Yao to hit this zombie immediately. Yao Yao couldn't move. She leaned against the wall and asked to be saved. The zombie was getting closer and closer to her. Sui Ling rushed towards Yao Yao. She hit the zombie several times, sending him flying. She hit the zombie again and pierced its neck. All the zombies lay defeated. Ji Xiang asked if Sui Ling was okay. She replied yes. At the same time, Yao Yao covered her ears with her hands and began to say that she did not want to die. Sui Ling shouted at Yao Yao, so that she stops acting like this. She said that Yao Yao is an adult, but he cannot behave normally. All she does is scream and can't pull herself together. Yao Yao shouted back to her that in such a situation, a normal person would not act as if this situation was normal. She said to look at everything that was going on around her and asked if she really thought it was all normal. Yao Yao cried and said that she did not want to die, and with every step she goes more and more crazy. The girl asked if Sui Ling and Ji Xiang had lived a similar life before. The girls stood and were silent. They did not know what to answer to Yao Yao. Yao Yao demanded that they talk to her and asked why they weren't answering. Sui Ling asked her to cool down a bit. Ji Xiang said that if this were an ordinary world, then of course it would be crazy, but, unfortunately, everything has changed. She continued, saying that now the world is crazy, and in a crazy world you need to use crazy methods in order to be able to resist it. She continued to say that it was now too easy for her to simply give up in a situation like this. As long as she's alive, she won't care how many zombies she kills. Yao Yao replied that she could not live like them, so she asked them to help her. Sui Ling said that from her point of view, people like Yao Yao are terrible, but it reminded them of what they had already gone through. They had almost died several times, and she said that she hoped that Yao Yao would not simply give up the life he had won with such difficulty. Ji Xiang distracted them and asked if the girls were hungry. There was a food machine there, but the question was how to get it. No one had any money with them. Yao Yao demanded that they get food quickly. Sui Ling asked if she had money. She replied that her father had always paid for her before. Sui Ling looked at Yao Yao very indignantly. Yao Yao asked if it would be possible to break it. Ji Xiang asked what she was going to break with. Sui Ling, a little nervous, said that she had an idea, but it would be hooliganism. The girls started immediately asking what the idea was. After 10 minutes, they took out all the food from the machine and ate. Sui Ling ate somewhat reluctantly and carefully. Yao Yao asked if she had another idea. They all turned into zombies anyway, so there's nothing wrong with that. Sui Ling was still sad because she felt it was wrong. Ji Xiang said that if she thinks like this, then she will get more food. Ji Xiang supported Sui Ling and said that they all broke the law. Car theft, theft and torture, killing zombies, all this is considered wrong. The girl pulled out the phones from the zombies and said that they also had no charge. Sui Ling asked if she really took the phones from the zombies. Ji Xiang asked what the problem was. After all, it was just some little things. Everything they could find around them should be used, she believed. The girl asked if everything was okay with Sui Ling. She asked if she had moved on from the situation with her father. Sui Ling said that her heart was heavy. If she had encountered this before, she would have cried, but now she somehow doesn't care, and she didn't think she could become like this. Sui Ling said that she felt like she had always been such a ruthless person. Ji Xiang interrupted her and said that she didn't say that. She continued by saying that Sui Ling was just confused about it all. This situation is very unusual and can change a person greatly. In fact, Su Lin is very kind and loving. Yao Yao was crying very hard at this time because of the death of Sui Ling's father. Ji Xiang noticed that she looked much sadder than Sui Ling herself. The girl said that she doesn't seem to feel sad because there is a person who is sad for both of them. Suddenly some sounds were heard. It was the sound of gunfire. The girls got scared and decided to look out the window to see what was happening. They began to slowly approach the window. Ji Xiang asked Sui Ling to be careful and not look completely out of the window. There was a guy on the street. He was wearing a police uniform and shot someone. The girls looked a little to the side and noticed a huge zombie. The guy shot at him, but the bullets did not injure this zombie in any way. He came closer and closer to the policeman. Ji Xiang realized that he was exactly the same as the one they encountered in the parking lot. Sui Ling told her to take a closer look and explained that it was larger and more powerful. More zombies were approaching behind the guy. The policeman sighed heavily. Ji Xiang assumed that his shots had attracted more zombies. The guy desperately tried to kill them with bullets, but realized that there was a better way. He didn't want to become a zombie. He put the muzzle to his temple and pulled the trigger, but there were no cartridges left. The guy was desperate. A crowd of zombies attacked him from behind. Ji Xiang turned away and suggested that they continue with what they had to do. She said they don't have time to worry about those who are unlucky. The girl began to leave and said that whether they liked it or not, it was time for them to get used to this. Sui Ling decided to look out the window again and take a look. She was no longer worried about the policeman, but about something else. She believed that this monster was specifically looking for people. Suddenly, he glanced straight at the window where Sui Ling was. The girl was scared. She quickly jumped back and hid behind the wall. Yao Yao asked what happened. Sui Ling smiled nervously and said that everything was fine. She looked out the window again and thought that she was just gawking, that the monster had just smiled at her. He couldn't detect them being so far away. She looked at this zombie monster and realized that he was not like the others. Instead of eating this policeman together with everyone else, he simply passed by. Sui Ling understood that he clearly had the ability to think and had a specific purpose. The zombie approached a huge trash can, he grabbed her and lifted her off the ground. And then he threw it, straight into the building where the girls were. He hit it right at the window of the floor where they were. Sulin shouted for the girls to run faster. This monster discovered them. Ji Xiang was at a loss, she didn't understand what had just happened. But when she realized, she wondered why the hell he found them. Ji Xiang ran up to Sui Ling and asked if she was safe, then she looked out the window was already broken. The monster was heading straight towards them. He looked at them and smiled. Ji Xiang asked how he discovered her. Sui Ling replied that she didn't know, as if he knew where they were from the beginning. The girl replied that it was really creepy. He came closer and closer to the window where the girls were. Ji Xiang looked out the window and asked what this monster was going to do. The monster bent down and simply jumped up from the ground and jumped to the floor where the girls were. The zombie hung in the window. There was a crash. Ji Xiang did not have time to move away from the window. The girl could not believe that she was seeing this monster so close. It is much larger than the previous one. The monster tried to grab Ji Xiang, but she managed to dodge. He began to creep more and more into the room in which the girls were, but due to its mass, it could not fit into the window frame. Ji Xiang and Sui Ling noticed this too. Ji Xiang said that his body is so huge that he is stuck in the window and cannot get through. Sui Ling asked if this monster was once human, because now he is 3 or 4 times larger than an ordinary person. The window could soon fail, the frame would crack more and more. The girls understood that he was about to come here. Sui Ling said that if he managed to climb through the window, they would have a hard time dealing with him. Yao Yao suggested running, and Ji Xiang asked if she could push him back. Sui Ling said that she had an idea. She asked the girls to follow her. Ji Xiang said, if she runs outside, it is now full of zombies who were attracted by the sound of the gun. Yao Yao excitedly supported Ji Xiang and said that if they went out, they would be in danger. Sui Ling replied that she didn't say they had to go outside, she just wants to get rid of this huge zombie. Sui Ling explained that she noticed that this huge zombie had some kind of intelligence. He has a specific goal, to seek out special people, so he went straight to the girls. However, she also noticed that some people, stuck in a window, would have thought to squeeze through first one half of the body, and then the other, and this zombie began to use brute force. This speaks to his limited IQ. Sui Ling guessed that these corridors might slow him down a lot. She asked if they remembered the floor map they saw downstairs. She recalled that there are 2 staircases on the 2nd floor, they are located near the window, and the other one, along which they climbed, is here, and even if he gets out, it will be very difficult for him to follow him along the corridors. The girl assumed that he would chase them, and they would go through the corridors, and they would come out on the other side. But Sui Ling said that first they just need to buy some time and then figure out how to get out. Sui Ling walked down to the 1st floor. Ji Xiang asked her to be careful and not rush to open the door. Yao Yao indignantly asked why don't they just go to the 3rd floor. She explained to Ji Xiang that they had not been to the 3rd floor yet, so they could not be sure that there would be no zombies there, and if they do, she's not sure the girls will be able to defeat them again like last time. Sui Ling said excitedly that it seemed like things were a little worse than she thought. Ji Xiang asked what happened. Sui Ling looked out the door window again, and there were zombies roaming around the 1st floor. The girl said that the 1st floor is already filled with zombies. She suggested to Ji Xiang that they were still able to enter through the door blocked by the mop, but they have no other choice, you need to go to the 3rd floor. Sui Ling asked Ji Xiang what she was going to do when they reached the 3rd floor. How are they going to get down from there then? Ji Xiang replied that she would do as Sui Ling said, they will go around this monster and throw him off his tail in the corridors. Sui Ling wondered why this monster was even following them. Ji Xiang joked, saying because Sui Ling is pretty. The girls went out to the 3rd floor and looked around. It looked like everything was clean there was no one on the 3rd floor. Ji Xiang asked Yao Yao not to rejoice too early, after all, they are still in great danger. Suddenly there was a sound. Sui Ling suggested that the monster was able to get to the 2nd floor. Yao Yao asked what are they waiting for then? Don't they need to get rid of him soon? Ji Xiang asked to wait. She explained that it seemed like the monster had seen them turn into the hallway, so it would follow them that way. he must be stuck in the cramped space of the corridor, then they will have to escape up the stairs to the second floor. Sui Ling said she at least hoped so. There was a sound, someone threw a stone through the window on the third floor. The girls were very tense and worried. They couldn't figure out who could have broken the window. Yao Yao suggested that they were zombies, but Ji Xiang said that they were unlikely to be capable of such a thing. Ji Xiang looked out the window. She said it looked like someone had deliberately thrown a rock through that window. Sui Ling asked who could do this in such a situation. They saw Xin Wu waving to them behind the car. It looks like he threw a stone there. Ji Xiang wondered how Xin Wu knew that they were on the third floor. Sui Ling said that even if they saw this monster rushing here, it would still not be enough, and how was he able to get through the window from such a distance? Xin Wu shouted at them not to stand rooted to the spot. He said that he would distract the zombies to himself, and that the girls would quickly try to throw that monster off the second floor. Xin Wu again asked them not to hesitate and to hurry up, and he also said that Pan Yu went to get the car. Xin Wu began to distract the zombies. He shouted at them to come here and in every possible way attracted their attention. He ran and called the zombies to follow him. They followed him. He then ran to some car and continued to call them to him. Xin Wu then deftly climbed onto the roof of the car. Xin Wu believed that this could distract the zombies. Now he was going to wait for the girls to come down. Sui Ling wondered how Xin Wu knew where they were. Ji Xiang replied that Xin Wu could not cope with so many zombies, so they first need to escape and then help him. We are transported to a time before the zombie apocalypse. The guy was sitting in the audience almost alone. It was Sin Kei. He sat and thought how bored he was. Nothing comes to mind at all. Some of his friends came up to him and asked how about going to the break room. The name Xing means gold and the last name Wu translates to absence, so his friends laughed at him a little. Xing Wu sighed heavily and looked away. He said he had an important report, and he hasn't written anything yet, therefore, they should not distract him. The guys asked Xin Wu to take them under his wing until they failed miserably. The guys asked to join Xin Wu's group, because he was in first place in 3 districts. Xin Wu sighed and said that apparently he won't write anything today. One of the guys suggested just downloading the report on the internet and not worrying about it. Besides, Sui Lin is in the same class as Xing Wu, so he can just ask her to copy her report. One of the guys called her the beauty of the class. The other replied that she was not just the beauty of the class, but the beauty of the whole school. He replied that he seemed to have heard that she also had a very rich family. They said that it seemed that her father owned a factory or even several. She inherited wealth and beauty. They are not the birds of her flight. The guys thought that even if they managed to interest Sui Ling, their wallet simply would not allow them to entertain her. Xin Wu looked at them indignantly and said that they are having a good time gossiping about girls, then he better go take a nap. Xin Wu sighed heavily and said that they talk about girls all day long. Don't they have anything better to do? The guys asked why he was showing off so much. Xing Wu replied that a bird in the hand is better than a pie in the sky. One of them said that every guy in this school dreams of Sui Ling and asked if Xian Wu dreams of her. The guy replied that he had never thought about it. The other was surprised and began to say that this was not true, otherwise Xian Wu would not have blushed so much. They went out into the corridor and Su Lin was coming down from there. She asked what they were doing here. Xin Wu replied that he wrote a report, but he didn't have enough brains, so he didn't write a word. Now he's thinking about going to rest. Sui Ling replied that she had already finished this report and could give her report as reference material. Xin Wu replied that it would be awkward to copy from her. Sui Ling asked what kind of cheating we were talking about. She said to use it as a reference. Suddenly, someone called out to Sui Ling. The girl turned around. It was Bai Defu. He said that he missed Sui Ling madly and wanted to see her quickly. The girl indignantly asked if she really didn't tell him to wait for her downstairs. Why did he get up? Bai Defu invited Sui Ling to eat with him, and this will make him really happy. Then he began to list various dishes, such as marbled steak, tiger prawns and so on. Sui Ling said that the food in the school cafeteria was enough for her. The 3 guys, including Xin Wu, simply stood in bewilderment and shock at such a show-off. One of his friends said that he hated rich people, especially people like Bai Defu. Every time he hears him, he shows off his finances. Another noticed that he was tall, handsome, rich. He fully meets the standards of an ideal person. The guys discussed the fact that although Sui Ling always insists that they are not a couple, this could happen sooner or later, and no matter what Xing Wu says, it is clear that he is interested in Sui Ling. His friends walked away discussing how money determines a person's destiny. Xin Wu wondered if money really determines a person's destiny. If money one day loses its meaning, will he be able to feel more confident when talking to Sui Ling? Xing Wu thought that if all the values of this world collapsed, then other laws would come into force, therefore, Xin Wu still has no chance. We then switch back to the reality of the zombie apocalypse. Zombies go and go, having no reason to exist. Pan Yu asked Xing Wu if he heard any gunshots. Xin Wu replied that although the sound was not loud, he still heard them. These shots attracted all the zombies nearby. The sound seemed to be coming from the left corner. Only now Xin Wu was worried that these shots could be somehow connected with the girls. It will be terrible if all this crowd surrounds them. Xing Wu began nervously looking for some kind of handy weapon, something like a knife and so on. He found a knife and took a couple. Xin Wu began to leave the building. He looked at the zombie, who was heading towards the sound of gunfire. Xing Wu thought that blows to the body would not harm him, so he should try to aim for the neck and cut it. Xin Wu ran out and tripped that zombie. The zombie fell. The guy stuck the knife right into his neck. He thought about how he never imagined he would one day do something like this. Pan Yu at this time cut off the head of another zombie with an axe. Xin Wu looked at him and said that he is truly ruthless. Pan Yu replied that when he thinks that he can really die, his heart somehow stops being soft. Xian Wu continued to worry about the shots. He couldn't understand what happened in the end. Could this really have something to do with the girls? Suddenly, Xing Wu heard Ji Xiang's voice. Peng Yu told him not to talk nonsense. Xing Wu panicked a little because he actually heard Ji Xiang's voice. Pan Yu said that Xing Wu probably has some glitches, because he doesn't hear voices, but Xing Wu claimed that she heard Ji Xiang say something about gunshots. But suddenly the guys suddenly noticed some sounds. Shots rang out and the guys rushed towards the sound. Xin Wu ran to the place where the shots were coming from. There was a policeman there. He was already surrounded by zombies. While ordinary zombies were eating the policeman, a huge zombie grabbed the thing. He threw it straight into the second floor of the building. Xin Wu watched this. He heard the girls' voices. They shouted that they had to run quickly, because the monster had discovered them. The thing hit the window with a crash and broke it. Xin Wu panicked. He became afraid for the girls. Pan Yu also approached Xing Wu. He was surprised at how the monster was able to throw the thing to the window. Xing Wu said excitedly that he absolutely heard the voice of Sui Ling, the girl in that building, there, so the monster is heading towards them. Pan Yu also began to panic. He asked him again in the building, and then saw Ji Xiang in the broken window. The guy asked why he went under the windows of that house. The zombie jumped back sharply and jumped to the second floor. The guys were shocked. They didn't think this monster could do that. Xin Wu said in a panic that if he did break in, the situation would be simply terrible. In the meantime, he is stuck in the window and cannot get out, but it won't last long. Peng Yu also panicked and told him to quickly save them, otherwise everything would be over. Xing Wu stopped Pan Yu a little. He began to explain. Xin Wu asked how he was going to save them. He thinks if they try to kill him, the huge zombie will kill them faster. Xin Wu said that even if they could distract him, it wouldn't be enough. He will try to figure out a way to draw Ji Xiang out on the other girls, and Pan Yu at this time will have to find a car and figure out a way to throw this monster off his tail. Pan Yu replied that he understood, and asked Xing Yu not to be too reckless, and was indignant that these monsters managed to grow to such sizes. Xin Wu thought that besides the strength and size of the huge zombie, there was another problem that you need to worry about. This monster knew exactly where the girls were and threw a huge thing exactly where they were. Xing Wu thought that from the outside it was hardly visible who was in the building, and this monster was originally heading towards Sui Ling. It's as if all these zombie monsters are chasing her. Xin Wu heard the girls and what they were saying, that they were planning to go to the third floor. It dawned on Xing Wu. He hid behind the bushes and thought about how to tell the girls that they were here, and then they will go around the zombie monster, go downstairs, get into the car and get out quickly. The monster had already destroyed the window frame and was getting inside to the second floor. Xing Wu thought that he couldn't delay any longer. At this time, the girls, in accordance with the plan, went up to the second floor. The girls returned to the place where they stood until the window was no longer there. Sui Ling realized that the monster was gone. They looked at that hole in the window and Sui Ling suggested going down it while the monster was on the 3rd floor. Ji Xiang was the first to go down. Sui Ling asked her to be careful. The girl jumped off. A zombie appeared behind her. She didn't expect it. Someone threw a brick at the zombie. It was Sui Ling. She recalled that she asked Ji Xiang to be careful. Sui Ling then suggested that Yao Yao come down, and she told her to act faster. Yao Yao did not jump very carefully. Ji Xiang asked if she was okay. The girl replied that her arm and knee hurt. Sui Ling looked at Xing Wu who was distracting the zombies. She thought if Pan Yu could get a car, then there would be an opportunity to escape. Xing Wu kept wondering how this zombie monster knew that they were here. Why is he so worried? Sui Ling did not have time to go down. The ceiling of the 2nd floor cracked and something collapsed. The girl turned around. She didn't understand what happened. The dust rose and the noise was almost impossible to see what had fallen. A loud crash was also heard from the street and then something fell. The zombies were only distracted by the noise and walked towards the girls. Xin Wu realized this and quickly got down from the car to help them. A zombie was creeping up behind him, but Xin Wu had a knife in his hands. He was ready. The guy swung his hand and in one motion cut the zombie's throat. Xin Wu apologized to the zombies and quickly ran to the girls to help. Sui Ling finally lifted the ceiling and with it, along with him is a zombie monster. It was as if he was deliberately waiting for Sui Ling to be alone. Meanwhile, Xing Wu slowly made his way to the girls, stabbing one zombie after another. He mercilessly plunged the knife into their necks and killed the already walking dead. One of the zombies decided to attack Xin Wu. The guy kicked him and the zombie flew away. Ji Xiang warned the guy to be careful because a couple more zombies were coming at him from behind. And at this time, Xing Wu was still thinking about what happened in the building and why Sui Ling still hadn't gone downstairs. The zombie discovered Sui Ling and came closer and closer to her. The girl hurried to the window to go down. The zombie monster's hand reached out to Sui Ling. He managed to grab her by the jacket, but the girl managed to jump off. Thus, he tore her jacket. Xing Wu rushed to catch her and put out his hands to catch her. The girl fell and Xin Wu fell to the ground with her. The guy blushed deeply. They were so close to each other. They immediately pulled away from each other. Sui Ling called him a pervert, and Xin Wu replied that he didn't do it on purpose. But their showdown was interrupted by the zombie monster. He jumped from the 2nd floor towards them and menacingly came closer and closer. Xing Wu blocked Sui Ling and asked her to move away. Xin Wu wondered if it was even possible to kill this zombie monster. But then Xin Wu noticed something. There's something strange in the zombie's gaze. He looked at Sui Ling and the girls and nodded at him. Is it really their fault? Xin Wu thought, if this is really so, then it is useless for him to try to distract him. Xing Wu decided to try to delay him until Pan Yu gets the car. The zombie monster swung. Xin Wu wondered how he could detain him. Xin Wu managed to jump away before the monster's blow touched him. The zombie monster swung for another blow. This time the blow reached Xing Wu. The guy flew away. His back hit the ground. It was painful. The girls watching this were worried about him. And at that time the monster was heading straight towards them. He hovered over the girls and watched hungrily. His eyes were filled with unknown intentions. The zombie grabbed Sui Ling. It seems that he has achieved one of his goals. Sui Ling cried and begged for help. She was terrified and panicked. The zombie monster opened its mouth. Its tongue was very long, and it moved swiftly like a snake straight towards Sui Ling. The girl was even more horrified. She asked herself a question to which she did not know the answer. What it is? The monster's tongue was very strange, but long. Xing Wu finally came to his senses. He turned to look at Sui Ling. Just a little more and the monster will touch the girl with its vile tongue. The girl was crying desperately. She didn't know what to do in the detailed situation. Xing Wu screamed. He was furious with this monster. The guy ran up to him a couple of times later and pounced on top of him. A moment later, Xing Wu was already on the back of the zombie monster. In one motion, he tore out his vile tongue and threw it far away. The monster screamed and released the girl. He also tried to grab Xin Wu, but the guy was faster. Xing Wu jumped off the monster and landed on the ground. A green vile liquid flowed from the zombie monster's mouth. Xin Wu looked at the zombie furiously like he was not a guy. They stood opposite each other, ready to attack. Xing Wu took the first step. He climbed onto his arm and grabbed the skin with his bare hands. The guy managed to tear it off. Tearing it off, He threw a piece of leather to the side. The zombie's blood was a disgusting green. The zombie got angry, he grabbed the guy by the collar, and he threw him to the ground with a blow. Ji Xiang asked if Xing Wu really pulled off the skin of a zombie monster with his bare hands and tore it apart. Sui Ling was very worried about the guy at that time. The monster kicked Xin Wu. Yes, so the guy flew several meters away. Xin Wu tried to get up, it was very difficult for him to do so. The zombie monster was approaching him. Xing Wu felt sick and was coughing up blood. The zombie monster was already bending over him. But suddenly a car appeared, she was driving straight towards them. Pan Yu was indignant at Xing Wu's reckless actions. After all, he asked him not to be so reckless. The guy drove right up to the bridge and managed to hit him with his car.